Once, long ago, when Macaw was new, the surface world was connected together. The mountains ran east and west rather than north and south. This is a way that we can tell what is the original land of Macaw, the motherland. One might choose to experience the Mogollon Rim located in central Arizona. It runs east and west, unlike the other granite rim formations in Arizona, which run north and south. The energies are quite different. Ruins of civilizations well over 20,000 years old can be found there which affirm the human presence during that time period. There were once many nations that enjoyed life upon the surface of Macaw. But there came an affliction to the consciousness. The children became greedy and selfish. They stated to kill each other in games of war. They lost the wope, which are the laws of respect, especially in the family structure, and the reverence for life itself, which was taught to the people by wolf spirit, Shunk Manito Tanka, and they became perverse. They forgot that the universe was created and maintained by compassion and mutual respect. The disease of fear filled their consciousness and then began to spread throughout the land like a plague. The people began to separate and went off in different directions, continuing their perverse ways. The distressed Macaw. This distressed Macaw very much, to have her children divided and living in such a manner. She sent out warnings and signs calling her children together, but because of the divisions of people and their perverseness, few understood. The few that heeded her warnings, she embraced. These people she kept hidden in her belly, safe through the times of the cleansing. Macaw shook herself, and the first cleansing began. Great rivers of molten rock, magma, flowed throughout the lands, and she sometimes covered the whole nations beneath lakes of this fiery, glowing magma. Some of these areas can still be seen in New Mexico, i.e., the Valley of Fire, where even to this day the land lays black and charred. The waters of the rivers and lakes changed the manner in which they flowed. The flooding of Mni washed Macaw pure of the pestilence of diseased consciousness. When the cleansing was through, the surface was not the same. The surface lands were scattered, and entire nations of people had vanished forever. There were now new mountains that ran north and south. The rivers were in new places and flowed in different directions. This Macaw left as a sign so that her children would know that this would be the last chance for them to walk the good red road and to remember the original teachings. Everything was changed by the cleansing. Only the heart of things was left. The star people came, and they noticed that everything was different, that the rivers flowed in new directions. and the mountains. They also ran in new directions. They noticed also that many of the children were wandering and confused. They wished to help them as they were relatives to those who walked upon Makah. They taught them the knowledge of the constellations and showed them the sacred hoop, which was Lilawakan, and that means very sacred. This represented where their relatives came from. They taught them that they were descendants of the star people, the star seed. They taught them that they were descendants of Great Spirit, Wakantanka, and they were the Nagitanka. We are the Nagitanka. There was much unrest upon Makah in these times. The buffalo, the eagle, the bear, all Makah's children were upset that this terrible thing might happen again. They blamed the two-leggeds for creating the disharmony, and some even wanted to destroy the two-leggeds. The star people, however, intervened and would not let them destroy the children. A plan was created. The children would now dance through dreams of what they were, that which had been created to have this happen began under the direction of the star people. The great buildings and mounds were constructed that stand to this day. The star people left Makah, but promised to return when it was time for the dream to end. They make visitations here, but the time they would actually return is encoded in the star maps. Look at the Lakota star map in the illustration I have included. Look it up on Google. If you were to overlay the stars that form Orion's belt over the great pyramids of Giza, you would find they fit, and a puzzle begins to form. You could then overlay them over a map of the Black Hills in South Dakota, and what you would discover would be amazing. This is a glimpse into the teachings of the sacred circles and the information to be found in Project Stargate. This story from the Lakota is another affirmation, in its own way, as to why pyramids were built and crystals were placed at specific points upon this earth. This was done in order to create a grid to hold the energy fields of consciousness, for all reality is again created from thought. This grid system created a gigantic Merkaba, or Merkabic field, or expression of the flower of life. Within this grid system, physical life was able to express upon this plane. This grid actually has the shape of a bubble. Time, in the higher understanding, is not linear. Although it is perceived to be, it is actually spherical. This is the nature of the sacred circles, or the music of the spheres. For sound creates all that is physical. We are beginning to understand this with the studies of, I think it's cymatics. Maybe I'm not saying that correctly, but whatever. An excellent and simple explanation of cymatics can be explored in Greg Braden's book, Awakening to 0 Point. And that is the story of the goddess, Makah.